So what I've done so far is I've switched my YouTube. So I have the channel of Adam's Friday Flow for Entrepreneurs. So it's now uploading directly to that. I was also able to switch all of my old ones to the new one. And that's kind of exciting. All my old videos and all the same subscribers. I also have been able then, I was afraid for a while that I wouldn't be able to load directly to this channel, but I am, so that's good. So now I'm preparing for the day, for the presentation. These bullet points. Oh, I need to make my bullet points. So,
We at Exhibit continually strive to build strong, lasting relationships that are centered around understanding your vision. We want clients long term and believe that by being committed to your success, we are both successful.
We've had the opportunity to work with and meet their whole staff, every one of them from start to finish. The production, the Q&A, the checks and balances before the product is delivered, it's absolutely phenomenal.
They let me make the decision
Oh, that's too bad. That's over now. Guess I missed that. It's 26th. Which were we? Huh. Okay. Nobody's shown up early, which is good enough. Resources, networking events. Commitments. Groups. Tuesday. 5, 5, 10. Wait a minute. So hmm. Do, do. Hmm. So there's one on August 17th and August 18th. Let's do that. This No, there's happy neighborhoods.
Good morning.
Morning, Alan. I'm looking for some more activities going, events happening this next week or so. I missed the B2B, which is sort of funny to me because I meant to everyone else, but I didn't put it on my calendar. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm good. I'm getting to go and meet somebody today for the potential client. So that's usually exciting.
Opportunity.
Yeah. Is the alibi still doing anything? Open URL. So, friends of Alibi Weekly. Become a friend. Weekly Alibi. Print deadline. Online. More about events. The next print issue, open the calendar. Featured. Okay, so here are the events, I guess, over here. Friday, August 21st. Okay. Saturday, 22nd. Huh. Oh well. I'll throw it in on the slideshow thing here. Do I even know how to spell alibi?
I think it's ALI.
Yeah, it's like that didn't seem right. Spelling is not my strong suit.
Yeah, and spell check doesn't help you with everything.
Yeah, helps with a lot, but also just not that good. Well, it is up to the hour, so I guess I'll start this off. Let's see here now. I want to put this in presenting mode because it's bigger. Well, welcome, Alan. As you know, we've got it on live on YouTube, and I've learned something new about this. By the way, I've got it I've got it live on YouTube, and it's not just Adam Brechtel anymore. It's actually on Adam's Friday Flow with Entrepreneurs channel, which I made. And so there's some
All
cool
right.
things. Pretty happy about that. Not doing the Facebook thing. You can use Inst Media, of course. The chat will be repasted. We're gonna I'm gonna do the welcome real quick, and then I'm gonna kind of cover the topic. Maybe I should put that on there. And then attendees, well, you guys will do your intro and then respond to the topic, and then the discussion will be open, and then I'll talk about events. Welcome to Adam's Friday Flow. We're organizing business memories is the topic today, if we can stay on here. And the reason that we want to do organizing memories is because it's one of the ways we can connect with our clients. It's also, and I didn't put it on here because if you have another bullet point, but it's also a way to, like, you know, remember where you came from, you know, and kind of keep you sort of like grounded. So it's just kind of neat. And the reason that I came up with this topic is I'd gotten an email from my the web host of the New Mexico, the web host for professional organizers of New Mexico, and she Janet Barclay is actually up in Canada, but she's a fellow organizer, and now she went into web designing for organizers. And anyway, she sends out this weekly thing, and one of the things was the about page, and I have no idea what to do with the about page. Usually when I see an about page, I think, oh, you just type something about what you're gonna write. But it's also a really great place to, like, you know, tell the story of your business. Welcome, Phil.
Hey, Adam, sorry a little bit late, but I'm here.
No worries, that's just fine. The web page is one place you could use these memories, but also if you've been to Yeller Sub, it's up on the northeast part of Albuquerque. Anyway, there's Yeller Sub is on Montgomery, and I went in there, and they have all these pictures up on the wall of like random things from his history, the guy that started it. And it was just kind of neat, and you felt like more connected to the guys there. So I'm sure there's other places you could put them, like on your business card. Good morning, Lisa.
Morning.
But those are some, like, you know, how you might share them, and what would be, like, you know, pictures with your story. And again, like when I was thinking about this stuff, I didn't think about pictures, but that's a huge way people connect with stuff. And there's so much stored in a picture that tells you about stuff. Now, as Alan might tell you, words also tell you things pictures can't tell you. So it goes both ways. All right, so welcome to Adam's Friday Flow for entrepreneurs. We get to introduce ourselves, so I'll stop sharing the screen here. If you want to put your information on the chat, you can do that. If you do it before you talk, then while you're talking, I'll bring it up and all kinds of great stuff. And we'll find out if Lisa's ready with her website yet. Anyway, welcome. This is I am Adam Sparks Brechtel, as you all know, and what I get to do is I help people organize their business spaces, whether it involves part of their home or not, and whether it's digital organizing or physical space around them that they're organizing, or I'm also doing virtual organizing, where I'm actually showing up in people's spaces with their camera. And then sort of talking them through things. That way, there's less concern about, like, passing on this nasty virus that's spreading around, and that's kind of cool. Today, I am going to be going up and I'm going to be organizing someone's files for a project they're working on, and they are some strategic planner, and so that's pretty exciting. And you guys, yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah,
So,
well, no, I'm a strategic planner, so
yeah,
maybe you can tell me what he's got in his files.
yeah. I don't know if I'll be just sharing that sort of information. Confidentiality is big, but you know, I'll give you a nod or something, right? No. Alan, would you go next, and then Phil and Lisa?
Well, I'm Alan Ramos, and I'm a retired entrepreneur. You know, since you asked me this question last week, I had to kind of think about my answer a little bit more.
That's great. That's totally what this is about.
And So the best that I can describe my current status is I'm a pro bono muse. And, so the nice thing about it is I don't have a schedule. I don't have to send anybody a bill. I don't have to collect anything. And someone calls me or they don't call me, and that's okay. But I like helping people. I like giving back. But I'm really not interested in being in business at the moment. And
Yeah.
so I think that probably best describes where I am right now. And Phil, I want to get your contact information because I'd like to send you an article on strategic direction as opposed to strategic planning. And I found it fascinating. It's just a small, like an eighth turn of the knob. But I'd like to get your thoughts on it. So
Yeah, absolutely. I'll pop my email in a moment.
I keep on trying to get to your website, Phil, but you did a few things that made it hard. You didn't add the HTTPS to the beginning, and then you
Oh,
put
sorry.
spaces, and then you put spaces between all the words.
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
get there though.
I was putting in the kind of company name, and then I'll put .com on the.
It works. It just takes me a little extra work, but that's cool.
Yeah, that's been up and running for about, I don't know what, about 3-4 years now.
The website or you?
The website. That's the second one. I got that done by a web developer in New York. So things have moved on a little bit from there, but I don't want to venture into doing another website at the moment, so I'm leaving it as it is. But like you, Alan, since last week, I thought a little bit more about what I could say, because last week I didn't. That's it. And if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see the 6 prime boxes.
Oh. Is this the right spray?
Not. That's it. Come down a bit more.
Oh, those?
No, up. So there's 6 boxes there. Yeah. So you have one day to market. You have new biz ideas, new startups, product integration, restructuring, and exit strategies. So behind each of those is just some text on what we do. And these are all the different firms that I've worked with. IMC Logistics, that one you see there, that is the logistics department for UEFA, which is the European Union Football Association, which is equivalent to the NFL in the US. So I had a contract with them for a year where I did a risk assessment on their warehouse and all their marketing goods. FMG is a company that I helped expand with new products. Drytech is a company I started up for some investors in Florida. So I've done a lot of these kind of things. Before I did all this, I was 25 years in the semiconductor industry, worked for Applied Materials and Tegel, mainly in etch products. Traveled around the world 2 or 3 times, which was great. Spent 1 year in China and Taiwan on business development for one of those companies. Like flying between Shanghai and Hsinchu on a regular basis. And then when I came out of the semiconductor market, I decided to do a startup called the Biz Connection. And it was kind of like a Angie's List, but not Angie's List in that you went on to see if you could find people that you were looking for that were good, but it was a list of all different companies in the region I was living in, which was in California back in that day. And it was in the early days, like 2009. So there wasn't a lot of competition around, but it didn't really work very well. So it was my first startup and it didn't really work very well, but I learned quite a lot from it. So that's a good thing. And then I did
Did you-
that start up in Florida, and then I did a few other things back in California with different companies, and then I kind of moved more into where I am today, in working with the National Science Foundation on getting seed funding for people and taking them through the I-Corps program as well. And then I decided I was going to write a book on strategic planning, because there are plenty of books out there on strategy, but there's not many books out there on how do you set up the planning to strategize. So that's what my book is currently in progress, and being read by a very good friend of mine who is a strategic coach. And I found that I'm rewriting part 3 of it already, because it needs to be much better than it is. So, and then obviously moving to New Mexico brought me here, and a lot of making a lot of new acquaintances and new contacts before I can get anywhere where I was before. I'll shut up now.
Great. So I saw in here that you have something we talked about last week, which is one of the ways to measure ROI. And it says here your takeaway on a lot of these pages. So that's pretty cool. Like explaining like what you're taking away. And then today we're also going to be talking about, memories. We'll talk about anything, but the topic I chose was memories. And from the pictures here, these are nice stock photos, but I wonder if you had I guess the memories you had is the ones that you showed on the first page, with the people kind of giving their little touts here.
Yeah, I've got customer stories up there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Lisa.
So in the customer stories, I've got people that are kind of give you good references and things like that.
And those are good. They're good memories to remember too. Like, that's cool. All right, Lisa. Don't be too excited.
Yeah, no. So I am Lisa McGarry. I am one of the founders of Proficient Financial Management. We use accounting to help small to mid-sized businesses grow and remain in business. A lot of what we do is actually helping, besides the basics, the payroll, the bookkeeping. The reason the bookkeeping is so important is the way that the data is organized is really important to manipulating that data to getting all kinds of answers about your company. So one thing that we specialize in is helping new companies and existing companies, but if you do it right from the beginning, it makes a huge difference in the long run. We help set up companies with their accounting workflow so that the way that they're entering the data is going to produce meaningful reporting for them later. So an example of that would be if you're very concerned about tracking how much income each one of your technicians is bringing in, because we do a lot of specialty trade contract work. So if you want to know how much each truck brings in a day, we can actually develop both the accounting entries, but also the accounting workflow that your people use, so that every month you can produce a report that shows you how much each and every single one of your trucks is producing, where maybe they got hung up. And some of that we can do inside your accounting platform. And then some of it we export to Excel, and we do what we call Frankensteining it, which is when we export a lot of data from your accounting platform to create reports that your accounting platform will not create. But is providing data that is meaningful to you to help because all of our clients are business owners. So we're trying to help them make decisions about how to grow their business, when to grow their business, maybe what part of their business isn't that profitable and they might want to shut down that part of the business and reinvest their resources in a more profitable area of the company. So yeah, so basically we manipulate data, but in a good way.
Manipulate. I like the word manipulate.
It's a root word, using your hands. Manos.
Yeah, I can see that. We spent a lot of time with the mouse and the keyboard making the data.
I can feel the love. I can feel the love. That's great. And with your website, you've got a new picture that you're going to be using for it when it happens too. Do we have a date?
No, we just kicked off this week with our web designer. So it's probably going to be like a couple of months
Okay.
before we get our website up and running. But believe me, everybody will know, because we're definitely gonna, you know, like actually launch our new website. Like right now, it's just, some days I wonder if it wouldn't be better to just take it down and have an under construction sign, but then that would require me to figure out how to do that. So yeah, no, we've turned everything over to professionals. And so now we're just waiting for them to produce something amazing.
So is this the original one that you, the original web people that you had chosen, or did you, and it just taken this long, or did you change?
No, we just found somebody. Well, I've been looking for people for about a month or two now, because you'd be really surprised how hard it is to find a web designer who will actually create something from scratch and not just be all like, oh yeah, I have a template I use for everybody in your industry. It was maddening.
And you're all about not doing the turnkey thing, so that's like especially annoying to you.
Right. Yes. So it was very annoying that we were, you know, we just could not find someone who had, and people would look at our website and just not even want to touch it, which was really upsetting, because in all of my inquiries, I was like, we just want a brand new website. Like, we don't want you to fix this steaming pile of S. Like, please give us a brand new website. And people just would not respond. But we actually found somebody locally, because I was actually reaching out in both Albuquerque and Dallas. And we actually found somebody in Albuquerque who I think is who we actually kicked off with on Monday. So
Cool.
Over the next couple of months, we should start actually coming up with a website. It's just going to take that long because it's about to be tax season again. So we're going to be doing this while we do tax season.
You know, your experience brings up something that's always bothered me, and that's the people, particularly the large consulting groups, that have a solution that they cram your problem into. And to me, that's not consulting. I mean, to me, consulting is, I sit down, I learn about your organization and your challenges, and I try to fashion some resolution or some ideas that help you solve your issues. But I'm offended by that. We've got a solution. You don't even know what the problem is. How could you have a solution?
Yes, exactly. I absolutely, it's becoming all the rage in my industry right now. Like, oh, just have one process and make all your clients go through that process. And, you know, the great part about working with privately held companies is that they actually don't have to do things all the same. This is why we don't do public accounting, because they do have to be all the same. So yeah, no company, especially no privately held company, is going to have the same problems and I have clients who are in the exact same industry, and a solution that works for one of them will absolutely not work for the other one because of the way that their company is organized. So yeah, we're kind of more of a boutique operation, if you will, than, hey, this is our tech stack. This is what we use. This is what we're going to put you on. So yeah, I suppose our niche is not having the same solution for everybody.
Good for you.
That's you've said that before, Lisa. Building the website, are these people good at marketing as well? How are they gonna when you come to your page, show or demonstrate you're not an accounting firm, you're a boutique?
Oh yeah, this is another reason we had extensive conversations with multiple designers, because we wanted somebody who really understood what it is that we're trying to present, but somebody who could actually, do that. I mean, my business partner and I are good about, in person. I don't know. We've done it for 12 years. We can personally communicate the brand effectively. And he's really good at online presence. His background is actually marketing, mine and it obviously isn't. But the web designer that we've chosen, one of the things that he specializes in is brand strategy and brand communication. So he and my business partner are having all kinds of fun together right now.
So
Cool.
the thought occurs to me that maybe something you might want to consider for your site is a video of you having conversation with a prospective client so people can get a sense of how you work, and in that you're not just going to present some cookie cutter idea to them, that that you really do have to spend some time. A lot of people, they don't want to spend that time. They want to give you a paragraph description and then well, you do the work and I'll come back to you. And the best work is when they invest the time.
Yeah.
So if you had a video, then you could, you just said that was your strength, was that personal communication. Well, that would give you an opportunity to show your strength on your website.
Yeah, good point,
Yeah.
Alan. Good point.
We'd have to think about the privacy issues, but it's definitely worth chewing on.
Well, the video itself you could use an actor. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's essentially a hypothetical client, because it's the process.
Thanks
that
for
you want to get
volunteering,
across.
Alan.
What?
I'm very
Thanks for
photogenic.
volunteering.
I'm photogenic, good on videos.
What's that, Phil?
I said I'm photogenic and good on videos.
Oh, you're volunteering too. You can do 2 people.
There we go. Yeah, it might have to be something like that. On the other hand, every single person is different. So every single company is different. So I don't want people to get the idea that it's, we'll see what our web designer comes up with. I just started turning over the basic.
It's funny because as you guys are talking, I'm thinking of there's a Fiverr commercial I've seen on YouTube. Fiverr is, it's this it's a logo generating website where basically they fish your stuff out to all these different web designer or graphic designers, and they send you back possible logos for your particular business. And they, you don't know where it's going. It could be, in the Philippines somewhere or something like this, which is great because there's, people there that are very talented and everything. And there's actually good relationships that have built from that. But the channel kind of does the exact opposite of what, or this video does the exact opposite of what you're talking about. Because they're like, well, you're going to start a business, so obviously you use Fiverr. But no, you're special, you know, you're a diva, you know, all these things. And like basically socially shame anyone who thinks that they're original. It's horrible, that side of it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but on the other hand, every small business, every privately held company is unique. Because
Yeah.
they have to be.
Yeah, and that's like this with the organization too, and that's one of the reasons you and I get along so well, is because there are organization sets, like for instance Marie Kondo, if you've heard of her. She does organizing for homes, and she has, you do this, you do this, you do this, and that's how you do it. And but a lot of people you know, have different ways that their brain works and the things they're accustomed to. And if I come in and just tell them to change everything they're doing, you know, it's not as effective as working with what they already know, like you've talked about, the path, the practices they're already accustomed to, and just tweaking them a bit so that they can get more done, enjoy it
Right.
more, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know,
as much as each business is unique, I mean, I've had the, I don't know, the privilege or the curse of having worked in a lot of different industries. And what I've come to the conclusion is that 80% of business is fungible. It doesn't matter whether you're producing products, selling a service, whatever. About 80% of it, it's just a different color paper and maybe a different terminology. And
Yeah.
about 10% of it's unique to the industry, and about 10% of it is unique to that business. And as a consultant, I knew where my learning curve wasn't in the 80%. I brought that with me. But I would tell people that, look, I'm ignorant about your business. I need to learn about your business. And I would be able to focus my energy on that 20% and not worry about the 80%. I had that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A lot of the back end that the clients don't see, the behind the scenes, a lot of it works the same, but the stuff that we present to the client and the stuff that is client facing is what isn't turnkey. I mean, obviously we have a lot of the same processes internally, or otherwise a tax return would never get done.
Right.
So yeah, I absolutely agree that, you know, but it's that 10% that I think is sometimes the most important part. If from a consulting perspective, because if you're not listening to that 10%, then eventually your client is just not going to feel heard, not going to listen to what you have to say, because they don't feel like you're invested in their business in any way. So, you know, that's despite it being such a small part, it's still, I think, a really important thing to pay attention to, and not just try to say, okay, well, most businesses are the same, so we can just put you all on the same process.
Yeah, I learned there's an old sales aphorism that I've applied pretty much to everything I do when you deal with a client. And that is, until you get past the want to the need, you cannot satisfy your customer. And customers don't often even know what their need is. They can
Yes.
tell you what they want,
Oh yeah.
but sometimes that want is a far distance from their need. So you really have to ask a lot of questions and listen very carefully,
Mhm.
because if you just satisfy their want, they won't be happy, and they won't know why, but you didn't solve their problem because you didn't even get close to their need. And I really found that in the law, because people come in and they tell you what they want, and it's like, okay, I know that's what they want, but that's not what they need at all. And so you really have to drill down, and then you have to convince them that I know this, you said that's what you wanted, but here's what I think you need. And if you can then address the need, you can have a satisfied client.
To be fair, some of the needs that we assess, they don't really have a choice because the federal and state taxing authorities require that they do these things. So some, when we tell them they absolutely need to do this or they're going to get shut down, you know, they go ahead and let us do it. But some of the things that we tell them they need, it's true. They don't listen. Some people won't listen. No matter how you phrase it. Because sometimes it is all in about how you phrase things to the clients. I found, you know, you can, you know, but as I said, you know, if it's something that I know that they legally have to have, then, you know, it's kind of like, okay, you're doing this or we're not doing this. Because if they're not in compliance, then, you know, we're not, or they're not willing to get into compliance, then I don't want to touch that. But yes, absolutely. Getting to their actual need and not their want is crucial because, yeah, oftentimes I mean, that's the whole point of bringing us in, right? The people who have the subject matter expertise is because we know all of the, you know, the ins and outs, the things that they don't even know that they don't know.
How many people don't know what they don't know?
There's
That's a
Paul Sauter explained 1 million as that kind of thing, where we get people talk about things and or talk about their business, and the people in the audience get to help them to know the things they didn't know.
Yeah.
My granddaughter made an announcement. She's now 16, but when she turned 5, she made an announcement that she did not have to go to school because she already knew everything she needed to know. And I thought she was partly right. She knew everything she needed to know to be 5, not 6, but 5. But it got me to think about what do I know? And I finally came to a definition of what I know. I know a lot about a little. I know a little about a lot. I know nothing about way more than that. And there's even way more than that that I will never, ever know. And that's part of the, I think the aging process is the humbling process of recognizing that you just can't know all that you'd like to know, much less what you need to know.
And then some of us don't remember some of the things we already knew.
There you go.
Yeah, that's
Phil,
another
what were you going to say on that topic, Phil?
I said, yeah, that's another problem.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote down your what you said, Alan. Large consulting groups, they cram in, they cram everything into your problem into their silo.
Solution. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite ads of all time was from a Big 5 accounting firm. They were advertising for consulting. They were advertising for consultants, and it said no experience necessary. And I was a consultant at the time, and I thought, that's all I've got to sell is my experience. They didn't want anyone who knew much because they didn't want that to get in the way of their process.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny when you're consulting because you know, like I said, I was in technology for many years, and it wasn't until I started consulting I was working in all these other industries, and it was a bit scary at first because, you know, I remember I was working with a consulting group in New York City, and they were asked by it's a drug rehabilitation corporation for the colored community, and it's in Manhattan, and they're huge, and like they're probably the biggest in the US. Okay, and they got properties in Manhattan as well, and they wanted to restructure, and so they asked Joyce from this consulting company in New York, and Joyce subsequently contacted the lady that's helping me do my book at the moment, who then contacted me, and we put a plan together on how we could educate the CEO to reorganize the company. But going through the process of learning what went on in that drug rehabilitation organization, the process flows and the workflows, was phenomenal. I mean, it's something I'd never encountered, envisioned, or would think I would ever need to know. But you do need to know the ins and outs of companies. And so I've done 2 or 3 health companies after that. I've done like UEFA, the football company in Europe. It's just, they're just mind-blowingly different. And it's really, that's what I find the most fun about what I've been doing since I come out of the industry.
A very dear friend of mine gave me a great hint. She goes into organizations, and one of her questions is, when she's doing a one-on-one, is, well, tell me about the written rules. And they go through all that. Now, tell me about the unwritten rules. Because the written rules are there, but the unwritten rules are really honored. And you're not going to find them anywhere except it's just by word of mouth. And if you never ask that question, there's a whole bunch of information you never get.
Now that reminds me of when I did my MBA, I did a thesis on formal and informal institutions. And that's going to be my next book, because I've got a lot of information on that. But formal and informal institutions and their effects on business, especially international business, is huge. And you're probably sitting there going, what's he talking about? Well, formal institutions consist of laws, rules, and regulations. It's pretty straightforward. Informal institutions consist of culture, ethics, and norms. And man devises, or when I say man, I mean by everything from an Amazon tribe in the jungle to Apple being a $2 trillion corporation. They devise the rules of the game, and the rules of the game run with laws, rules, and regulations, okay, that affect the company and are within the company, or the tribe and within the tribe. But what do you do when laws, rules, and regulations do not solve a problem? Because you can't legislate or regulate for everything. Well, guess what? Culture, ethics, and norms fixes that problem.
And there's one additional thing I'd like to add to that, and that's subcultures. Because when I was doing consulting at law firms, big law firms, and they would say, our firm culture is, and then I would spend time working within it, and they would have all these different practice groups that had their own culture. It was markedly different from the other practice groups, and in some ways had no connection to the stated firm culture. And so, you know, you really have to spend some time with it and keep your mind and your eyes wide open, because sometimes the subcultures are more important than the overall culture. Because sometimes that culture is aspirational rather than realistic.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff that's underneath, you know, culture, ethics, and norms. You know, like religion, education, social structure. There's a whole pile of effects that hit people, you know, especially in international business. If you're a frequent traveler to a country, as I became, you know, with China and Taiwan, and you begin to understand their way of business, you get around those issues. But when I first went there, when my boss said to me, Phil, why don't you go to China for a year and see what you can do in business? I'm going, what? It's funny because the idea to me was like exciting. I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to go do that. And then when I'm flying over there, literally, I'm going, shit, what the hell am I going to do? How do I do this? It's too late. I said, yeah, I've got my bag back for 6 months, I'm gone.
There you go. You know, this is great talking about the informal and formal, and then also the basically the unwritten and the written rules is those are built on the memories. So that's another kind of like it ties back into the topic is the part that I'm excited about. Aside from the stories are being great, but like, you know, how else do you form those? Like even the written rules have memories behind them, but the informal ones are really built on these memories, and being able to collect those in a way that other people can see it in your group, you know, like
I iceberged it. All right, so I put an iceberg in the water, and you could see above and below the water, and everything that was formal was on top of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And everything that was informal was under the sea.
Yeah.
And
So
it really drove the point home.
I wonder if there's a way to take take those memories, the about page, and kind of incorporate some of that unwritten stuff, you know, by just like kind of showing it through things. Also, Lisa, I was wondering if you've noticed any of that, like the informal versus formal stuff, and that's one of the things that gives your company an edge too, or like with the clients you work with.
Well, a lot. I'd have to say a lot of it is still very informal. You know, I've had companies with 50 employees, which may not seem like a lot, but it kind of is. And everything is still pretty informal, and it's, you know, a struggle to get anything formalized.
When you say formalized, what are you thinking?
Written down. I guess, you know, for us, if it's written down, it's a much more formal communication. It's a much more formal document. Yeah. It's, you know, again, everyone's different. Everyone has different ways of doing things. But yeah, for the most part, I would say a lot of it is still really informal, because pretty much every single one of my clients started their companies from scratch. So when you start your company in the beginning and it's like just you, well, you know this because you've started your company and it's just you, everything is probably pretty informal, right? You don't have like a lot of you don't have a lot of written policies and procedures. You obviously don't have an employee handbook. And even if you hire like one employee or two employee, you may not necessarily like get that super formalized. Right, you know, that may not be your primary concern, because usually if you're hiring, it's because, you know, business is growing, you need the help. And especially at the beginning, you usually don't hire people until you really desperately need the help. So at that point, you really just don't have time to start putting together anything like truly formal and written. And then before you know it, you have 50 employees in your office and you still don't have an employee handbook. Or if you do, it's like not really a helpful handbook. It's mostly, you know, just very basic generic things that don't reflect your company at all, but just kind of maybe reflect your legal obligations. So yeah, I you know, that's what I see in my companies anyway, because, you know, it's a little bit different, you know, and even for us, obviously we have some things that are very formal at my company because, you know, we have certain requirements that we have, like legal requirements that we have to abide by. But everything else is very informal. Like to this day, it's a very informal culture inside my office. You know, despite the fact that, you know, we've been in business for 12 years, and we do actually know how to write policies and procedures, but pretty much if it doesn't relate to the things that we absolutely have to do, it's probably a very informal thing.
So here's a question for all three of you, and that kind of brought up, well, at least it was saying, is how many cultures have you dealt with that you actually saw keeping memories as like a big part of their culture, like that helped them flow?
Well, one of my experiences closely held memories that didn't help their flow.
That's good to think about.
I was the last president and CEO of the Board of Trade of San Francisco. It was 113 years old when I arrived at the job. And then I realized that it was not really long for the world and merged it with another organization. But they had procedures that had no relationship to reality. They just had been doing it for so long that no one could remember why they started doing it that way. But they had a death grip on the procedure and trying to get them to, I mean, just one example, I came in as a vice president, and the president told me one day, he asked accounting to write a check, and they said they only write checks on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I said, you're the president, tell them to write the damn check, okay? I mean, why, but they'd probably be doing it for 50 years on Tuesdays and Thursdays. What did that have to do with anything? Nothing. So there's the flip side to your question. That's what popped into my mind first and foremost.
Yeah. But it's funny, you also mentioned that it's partly because they didn't remember why they did it. So the memory was lost, the procedure was all that was left.
Well, yeah, the substance of the memory. Yeah. But you think about in life, there are, I mean, I don't know, I'll take you too much time here, but there's a parable that answers that whole question. And it's the parable of Grandma's roast.
Yeah.
And if you heard that.
Go for it.
Well, okay. So a woman is getting ready to fix dinner, and she takes the roast beef out. She cuts a ½ inch off of each end, and her daughter says, "Why did you do that?" And she said, "I don't know. My mom always did that." And then and so they called mom and they asked her, and she said, "Well, my mother always did that." Well, by then they had to know the answer, so they called great grandma up, and she said, "Oh, it's simple. My pan was always too small, so I had to cut the ends of the roast off." So she had a reason to do it, but everybody had been doing it for many, many years, throwing meat away because great grandma's pan was too small. And I've seen it in organizations. Somebody had a reason for doing it at the beginning, but that reason got lost over time, but the procedure endured. So people just keep doing it the same way.
I don't know if it's a funny story, Alan. I don't know if it answers your question, Alan, but context of cultures, all right, is a very strange thing. So when I started working in Asia, the contextual group of Asia is more in-group people, all right? They call it, and they're more in-group because, you know, like China being the way China is, and their rule of law, they're a group of people that work together quite easily. Whereas if you take the American society and some of the European societies, their capitalist systems or socially capital systems work more out-group. They're more individualistic. And so when you look at Americans and China, you know, you've got this thing going on at the moment that Trump's doing with the trade wars and trying to bash China for everything and the way they handle things. And yet the Japanese culture is very similar to what's going on in China, even though they're a democracy. They're still in-group people. If the president come out and said, everybody's got to wear a mask, in Japan, they would do it and there wouldn't be any arguments. And in China, there wouldn't be any arguments. In America, oh, hang on a minute, you're infringing on my breathing rights, you know? And yet, look how well and for how many decades the US has traded with Japan versus it's trading with the other Asian nations. There's this great bond between this in-group culture society of Japan and the out-group cultured society of the US. And yet they're very close allies and they trade very well. And they've been doing it for decades and decades. And it's only since the initial rise of Chinese capitalism, if you like, in a way, that we're beginning to trade with them. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I just think it's a really weird anomaly that goes on.
Huh.
Hi, Michael.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Just thought I'd stop in.
Welcome. Before I lose it, you smiled really big, Lisa, when I mentioned, are there cultures that hold on to memories or remember memories? Did you have an anecdote?
Not really. I mean, I just was thinking about, you know, in general, I've seen a lot of, I've seen a lot of cultures that I was raised by someone who is indigenous to an African country and actually has now returned to that country, my father. Well, obviously not biologically, but and because of that, I actually had exposure to a lot of different cultures, and yeah, telling stories like legends and things like that was kind of, you know, they would just sit around and they would tell like different stories, and that was kind of a part of my childhood. So just kind of, you know, a memory of memories, I guess, if you will.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you, Lisa. Michael, we're talking about memories a little bit, and then we got into talk about cultures of the businesses, or of that, you know, context of the business, as Phil brought up, because he's a world trotter, you know, he globe trotter. He goes around, experiences all these different countries' businesses, at least China's. But that's been kind of the topic of, like, you know, how these different things. And I think it was kind of neat because what we got into by talking about the written and the unwritten sort of like rules, or the formal and the informal cultures, is like we were talking about memories, because both of those are sort of like developed from memories. And so it's kind of neat that we went back into that. But you've had some experiences in your, like, you're not necessarily doing a business right now, but how have you seen, I'll ask you this real quick and then I'm gonna wrap up with the events, but how have you seen like these sort of topics in your experience with businesses? How important have memories been?
Oh, so I'm not quite sure. Cultures or memory? I'm not sure. Don't have clarity on the question. The thing that popped into my mind in terms of business was that way long ago, when I was helping start up a summer camp for kids, we had this experience of the kids being run amok on the first year, and we're all like all over them, right? But nothing couldn't contain them. And then the next year, we're all loaded for bear about how we're going to deal with it, and they didn't do any of that stuff.
Ah,
But he remembered from the last year that they'd tested the boundaries.
yeah.
Old kids taught the new kids what the boundaries were. And we
Oh,
didn't have we didn't have those issues anymore. And then the
Yeah.
camp ran for the next, 20, 30 years almost. And the reason it comes up is my daughter, grew up through that camp system. And she's also taught in, like after school programs for kids and youth programs. And now she's been working at the growers market downtown. And one of this, and a similar lesson is learned in each one. Even adults in the growers market, she was very shocked when they opened up for everybody to be able to come in.
Yeah.
That there were people that would slip under the fence. They're trying to count, they have to manage how many and masks and all that stuff. And there'd be people that would sneak in under the ropes. There would be people that would use the people that are selling have a restroom, but they don't bring in a restroom for the other people because they're not supposed to be there that long. And so like all those things, the first couple of weeks were a total royal pain, with people confronting her and trying things and trying to shortcut and trying to do this and that and explaining how masks weren't patriotic, or maybe that they were just like a health risk to them, blah, 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 right?
yeah.
Third week, none of that. So once in a while, she'll get somebody that's being a dick, and basically the people in line will be applauding for sending them away. It's like they totally have a social norm now that the other
Yeah.
people there will basically look at them with disgust if they don't do it. So is that a memory? Is that how memories work?
It's totally how they work. That's exactly what I was asking for.
I think that
Our informal rules here are you talk about what you want to talk about.
right, but
Especially if it's something it's interesting to you, because that's what is going to catch things.
right. It's just interesting that people and children are the same all over, and they need to know what their boundaries are. And then
Yeah.
It reminds me of my philosophy that we don't grow old, we don't grow older, we just get taller. And so we just become tall children. And so all the things we did as kids, we're still doing as adults.
yes.
That's
So what's
great.
up, Adam?
So other things that we might go ahead.
Oh, I
what's
was
that?
just wondering what you're bringing up.
Yeah, so this is as I wrap up, the one before this is kind of the this is the schedule. We do welcome and all this other stuff. And now we're gonna on the last part, which is events, just because it's kind of good to send people off with other things they could do. If I could keep it on the right page. Okay,
Yeah,
there we go.
I have another conference call. It starts at 10. So
Well, thanks for joining us, Michael. So Wednesdays, 1 Million Cups, as you guys know here already. You can find that at 1mcabq.com. And these are all virtual events that I'm showing here because that's the situation we're in, and that's the stuff I want to promote. Alibi has some events. Actually, I don't know how many of these are actually trying to escape from here, but the escape button's not working. There we go. I'm not sure how many of these are actually virtual, but they're right here at alibi.com events. And over here, there's featured events. So there's something going on, beer and chocolate. So that sounds like something that's gonna be in person. And I don't know about these events, but as Alan was here with me at the beginning, and I was just checking it out. So I'm not seeing that these are virtual, but there's a place to look for events if we're looking for something coming up. I didn't screen that one very deeply, but Alibi, local newspaper. Then Happy Neighborhoods Project is something that Lisa mentioned to me a while ago, and I went and visited this, and it's a national conference, and there's also regional ones. There's not really one for the Southwest exactly yet, But if we get enough interest, we could possibly have one that's local. But you go there, Happy Neighborhoods Project. This guy started that up because he stopped someone from having committing suicide unknowingly, because he asked for their stories, this guy's stories. And when he came back, he called him up later, and he didn't even give him his phone number. The guy hunted him down, and he says, "Well, thank you for stopping me the other day to talk, because I was about to jump into the train tracks." And the guy's like, "Okay, well, I guess I'm onto something here. I should do something." So he started Happy Neighborhoods Project, and it's networking of businesses, and they're kind of a neat, it's kind of a neat feel for that group. And that's happens a lot on Fridays too. And
It happens like every day. Like you can go to that website and pick like what region. There's like 2 or 3 a day. I usually go to the one for North Texas since there isn't one for New Mexico.
right, yeah, and it's also, there's also international ones. Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for putting me onto that. And then next week, Friday Flow is going to be what makes a goal more potent. I realize this is probably not the best name. I could probably call it something like, potent goals or something like that, more catchy, but that's what it is. And if you guys have any topics, I was at Activate New Mexico, had a thing yesterday, and I talked to Teresa from the African American Chamber of Commerce, and she's like, have you ever had people on my show here or this discussion group actually come up with topics? And like, well, no, I haven't bothered to ask yet, even though I've thought about it. So this is me actually asking. If you have topics, feel free to tell me or email me them, and we can talk about them. I'm gonna wrap up here.
Alan,
Yeah.
I've got something from memory for everybody before they go. I got one of these. All right, this one's called Album Saver. I don't know if you can see it.
Really?
Doesn't come very well.
Is it a flash drive?
It's a flash drive. This one's called Album Saver. You get it and you plug it into your computer and you just press go, and it finds every damn picture on your computer that you've got, and puts, the good thing about this is, it doesn't just put it onto a memory stick, it puts it into the folders that you've got it on your drive. All right, and it includes all those screenshots that you've done, and every photo you've ever taken. Photos you didn't even remember will be remembered because they come on this photo stick. And it scans, and it takes about 20 minutes or so to do the whole job. And I've got like tens of thousands of pictures. But
What's it called again?
This is called Album Saver.
Okay.
All right, there's a number of them out there, but the reason I liked Album Saver is this is a really hard metal case on the memory stick. It's solid, and you can get them in different sizes as well. You can get 64 up to 128, I think. And you can just plug it in, and all your pictures are going to go downloaded on it automatically in their folders. And you put it, you take it out and put it in your safe or in a safe place. You'll never lose your pictures.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool. Thanks
It's
for
really
that.
good.
Did you help them start up, or strategically manage them too?
No. I was looking for somewhere to dump all the pictures because I got like drives everywhere, and either I fill up my Dropbox on my iCloud drives, which is pictures, and then you can't use anything else. And I'm going, this is stupid. So now I've got everything here, and I can free up all my drives, and I don't have to spend so much money on cloud computing.
That's cool. I like it. Thank you guys for joining us on Keep the Sparks Flowing.
Have a wonderful
Catch
week.
you later, guys.
Thank you, Adam, for doing this.
You bet. I enjoy it. This is where I'd end the video here now, but now I gotta go close it on YouTube. Yeah. Thanks you guys for coming. It makes the discussion way more fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I've had one just by myself, and I'm like, oh, what should I talk about? I feel really dry. I'm like, I could talk about things, but I don't feel excited about them if I'm not talking to someone about it.
were you in agreement?
Yeah, basically.
Well, that's
not as
good.
fun.
Yeah. It's just if you're talking to yourself and you have an argument, that's problematic. So, bye, everyone.